The story starts, and we see a woman, leaning on a stick for support, was left shocked and terrified. She saw a shadowy figure standing outside her house, wrapped in black clothing. The children were also startled upon seeing this unknown person, and the dog began barking continuously. There was a chilling silence filled with fear. Ramona told the children to stay inside the house, and she herself approached the stranger to find out what was going on. With trembling steps, she reached the woman and politely asked, "Do you need any help?" But the voice that came in response was deep and heavy. Ramona couldn't quite understand it, and her instincts told her that something was not right. She made an excuse, saying her husband was about to arrive, and told the stranger to leave the premises immediately or she would call the police. However, the woman refused to leave and instead began talking about Ramona's family in detail, as if she already knew everything. In truth, Ramona had lost her husband in an accident and was left physically disabled. Now she was raising her son and daughter alone. The woman said that her husband would never return. This left Ramona even more stunned. That's when she noticed the woman's hands were stained with blood. Terrified, she ran toward the garage. The power was out in the house, and her phone had died. She wanted to charge it using the car and call the police, but the car wouldn't start. Meanwhile, the dog kept barking. Suddenly, the mysterious woman raised her hands, and the dog instantly fell silent. A while later, Ramona returned inside, locked all the doors and windows, and bolted them. She told the children firmly that no one was to step outside. The son, who was very disturbed by all this, began asking his mother what was happening outside. But Ramona didn't give any answer and started hiding something. Taylor brought a chair and sat near the window, keeping an eye on the woman's movements outside. Then for a moment, when he turned away, he saw that the woman had come even closer to their house. At that very moment, a huge black shadow started appearing, slowly moving toward an old truck. Taylor didn't even realize when he dozed off. Suddenly, Ramona remembered that their dog was still outside. She quickly opened the door and called for the dog, but only a broken chain was lying there. The dog was nowhere to be found. Just then, Taylor woke up startled and said that he would go to the nearby fields to try and get help from the neighbors. But Ramona strictly forbade him, saying he was still a minor and driving was illegal. Taylor couldn't understand her point and got angry. A heated argument broke out between mother and son. Annie, who was standing nearby, got scared and hid in her mother's lap. Suddenly, a scream came from the direction of the kitchen. Her foot had landed on a piece of broken glass. At that moment, Taylor noticed that the strange woman sitting in the yard had come even closer to the house. As soon as his mother turned around, Taylor quietly picked up an iron rod, took the car keys, and ran to the garage, trying to start the car silently. But before he could do that, the mysterious woman had vanished. This incident filled Taylor with even more fear. He saw that someone had removed the cover from the old Jeep lying in the yard. Just then, a shadow appeared outside the garage. Meanwhile, the woman returned to the same chair in the yard. As soon as they returned to the house, another argument broke out between Ramona and Taylor. Taylor couldn't understand why Ramona wasn't letting him go outside to get help and was instead insisting they stay locked inside that creepy house. Gradually, Taylor began to grow suspicious that there might be some deep connection between this woman and his mother. He told his younger sister that maybe their mother was mentally unstable. Hearing this, Ramona flew into a rage and the argument escalated. In anger, Taylor stormed off to his father's old study, opened a cupboard, and pulled out his father's old gun. Then he quietly stepped outside and warned the woman, "Leave now, or the consequences will be dire." The woman was now just 10 steps away from the house, but she neither flinched nor moved back. Slowly, she lifted her veil. The woman looked extremely strange, almost as if she belonged to another world. She simply waved her hand, and the wind chimes behind Taylor and suddenly rang out loudly. It felt as though she could touch things through her shadow, but she didn't harm Taylor. Instead, she revealed a big secret, the truth about his father's death. Meanwhile, with Annie's help, Ramona managed to open the door and confronted Taylor. He was still looking at his mother with suspicion. At last, Ramona gave in and revealed the entire truth. On the night of the accident, she and Taylor's father had a loud argument. Ramona longed for the fast-paced city life, while the father wanted to settle in a quiet village. In a fit of anger, Ramona stubbornly started driving the car. But overwhelmed by emotions, she lost focus, and that moment became the biggest tragedy of their lives. To escape the guilt, Ramona had spread the lie that the car accident had been caused by her husband. That night, when Annie was pacing in the drawing room, a terrifying scream suddenly echoed. When everyone rushed there, they saw a huge shadow wreaking havoc on the wall. It was clear that the same spirit was creating chaos in the house. Taylor immediately pulled down all the curtains on the windows, and the three of them quickly ran toward the attic. The atmosphere outside was growing more frightening. A giant shadow had surrounded the entire house. Just then, a dark hand slowly started moving toward Annie's feet and tried to pull her. Taylor covered the window with a large picture kept nearby, saving Annie. Darkness had engulfed the room. Suddenly, the chandelier began to shake. They felt a presence. Taylor turned on the flashlight. In its beam, they saw the mysterious woman standing behind Ramona. Ramona picked up a wooden stick and tried to defend herself. But due to her inability to walk, she couldn't fight and was thrown aside. At that moment, the woman vanished in a flash, but her shadow still lingered there. Annie, terrified, hid in a corner. The woman had now targeted Annie. Just then, another shadow emerged from behind the first, trying to stop her. In fact, the woman had possessed Ramona's body, and now Ramona had become a shadow herself. Annie was now in the woman's lap. Her eyes were fixed into nothingness, as if her mind had been taken over. In the very next moment, the woman disappeared with Annie. As she vanished, Ramona's body collapsed to the ground again. She could hear Annie's voice calling out to her. Crawling, she reached her late husband's library and lit it faintly with a lighter. In front of her was a damp, narrow corridor that had never been seen before. Without thinking, she started walking down that path. But in the end, what she saw was unbelievable. Her husband was lying on the same bed, looking at her lovingly. She let go of all her fears and lay down beside him. But soon she realized something was off. The tattoo on her husband's body appeared reversed in the mirror, and even the clock in the room was running backward. Just as she was trying to make sense of it, the man, her so-called husband, who was standing behind her, suddenly blindfolded her. When she regained consciousness, she found herself under a black veil, as if she had become that same woman. She removed the veil and found herself in the attic again. This time, the woman who came to Annie was her mother, but the shadow still resembled that terrifying woman. Ramona went to wake Annie, but terrifying visions flashed through her mind. The scene of Annie's death that she had been struggling with. Annie kept calling out to Ramona, but the very next moment, she suddenly disappeared right in front of her. When Ramona looked at herself in the mirror, it felt like she saw a terrifying image of herself. Then Annie appeared again, and now both of them were in the same room. It was then that Ramona finally understood who that mysterious woman really was. She told Taylor to take Ramona downstairs and decided to end everything herself. A little later, that same woman emerged from a dark corner and said she came from the dark part of Ramona's mind. She was there because Ramona had summoned her. After her husband's death, Ramona's life had become full of hardships. She had no job, no support, and the responsibility of 2 children. The mental pressure was so much that she started contemplating ending her life, but could never gather the courage to do it. One day, Ramona prayed and asked the Almighty for strength. After many nights of penance, that same woman appeared. The same woman who had come to end Ramona's life. Then the woman lit a lighter and showed pictures of the children. The photos held glimpses of the future. Taylor had become a famous scientist, and Annie had enrolled in college and was living a happy life. Ramona's heart trembled. She realized that her existence might become an obstacle in the path of her children's progress. After deep thought, she told Taylor to take Annie and seek help from a neighbor. Taylor was a bit hesitant, but obeyed his mother and left the house. Ramona went back to the attic. Now that same mysterious woman was with her, who handed her an old gun. Ramona picked up the gun and pointed it at her head, but a long time passed and no shot was fired. After a while, Ramona slowly walked outside the house. Meanwhile, Taylor and Annie had not gone to the neighbor's house. They were waiting nearby. Eventually, Ramona and the 2 children hugged each other tightly. Even though Ramona had summoned that terrifying force, she couldn't bring herself to leave her children. No matter how hard life was, they decided to stay together. Then all 3 returned home. The electricity came back, and the pet dog that had been missing for several days also returned. It seemed like everything was getting better. Ever since Ramona gave up the idea of giving up on life, that woman never appeared again. This story is based on a psychological horror film that began with mystery and fear, beautifully crafted, but towards the end, it takes an emotional turn. The ending is left somewhat open. Through a painting, there's a hint that perhaps Ramona is no longer alive, and all of this was just her imagination. With this, the story ends here, Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Also subscribe to this channel for more horror stories like this.